Hello, I'm Miguel Electronica, and this is
Marcy Carone.
And we're here because Marcy is going to illustrate how to do a 20-minute Mighty Body Band light workout with a PNF, proprioceptive neuromuscular loop. And what we want to show you first is that this is the Mighty Body Band Lite in and of itself. And I have the toe band up around the hook, right? And it lengthens. And this is everything you get in the Mighty Body Band Lite, in the Mighty Body Band Lite, with the handles and everything. So what we're going to do now is we have an accessory, and this is it, the PNF loop. So you'll see there's two little yellow, we call them the antennas. And what happens is we'll take off, I'll give this to Marcy, she'll hold the MBB unit, and then I'm going to hook up the
black
PNF,
to black.
Black to black. Everything's color coded. Silver to silver, black to black, right? Black to black down here. Good job. So in this video, we're going to focus on dynamic PNF active isolated stretches. So first thing I want to do is just take this and illustrate to you that when I pull on it, it doesn't stretch. It's what we call static. Then we're going to release what we call the static strip on a PNF loop. Now watch what happens. Watch what happens here. See, now I'm working with a bungee cord, and Marcy is going to do this 20-minute workout with this PNF loop. Marcy.
Okay, I'm going to start out with the handles. And even though I trust Miguel, I always like to check it out myself, just so in my mind I know. I like to start out with warming up some of the larger muscle groups. So I will start out with a Savasana pose, draw the shoulders away, and I'm just going to let my body rock side to side. I'm going to even up my toes right under my knees. I'm going to draw the shoulder blades down the back and come on into chair pose. So invisible chair pose, because there's not a real chair I'm sitting on. I'm going to lift up and down. So I'm using the band on its extension and exhaling when that happens and inhaling on the way back.
And you can really see how this is lengthening. Every time Marcy goes down, the band, the PNF loop extends. It retracts and it protracts. Beautiful.
And I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to do a little like I'm excusing myself from the dinner table and pushing back and forth. So I'm really working some different muscles here on the angle. I'm going to hold it here while I'm distracting my quadriceps. I'm going to take a little bicep curl. And then one more set.
Very nice. So there's never any jarring or anything because we're using the PNF accessory. There's never any jarring. It's all a nice, smooth transition. The deeper she goes, the more tension there is into the PNF loop.
The band's helping me to stay up, but it's also letting me go a little bit deeper. So it's my personal assistant. I'm already starting to get a little bit of a sweat. Good. Okay, so from here, I'm going to just keep going with the same idea. I'm going to cross my right leg on top of my left. So I'm going to get a little stretch and some stability. And I'm going to do some circles. So I have to stay stable. To find the fluidity following the breath.
And as Marcy's doing that, I mean, it's just really nice because it's a really nice release for the piriformis into that right leg. She's also doing a lot of upper body stuff, so she's working lower, mid, upper chains of the body.
And then I'm going to hold here. And then I'm going to transition to some balance. So I come into Warrior 3 with my arms out to the side. I'm using the band. If I want to not use the band, I would just let it go slack, but I still have something to hold on to.
Very nice.
Good. Now, I'm going to even my right foot up right underneath the anchor. Cross the left foot over, flexing the left foot to protect the knee. Draw those shoulder blades down the back. And I'm going to circle again.
It really allows for dynamic symmetry is what it does. And like Marcy said, you know, from the anchor point here, so she's anchored in from the top of the door and running all the way through, right through the tip of her nose, through her belly, right in between the inner right leg. That is the stabilization point. That's her center of gravity. And that's why it makes this work so much more dynamic than working statically.
So while you were talking, I switched my direction. I went from counterclockwise to clockwise.
Oh, right. Good.
To change it up.
Yeah, to change it up. And also, again, a lot of this is about working outside of habit, introducing a new coordination to the body.
Nice. All right, so I'm just going to flip around here. I'm going to bring these nice and close. So I feel like it's my little container. And I'm going to do some lunges. So the best cue I can give you is start where you want to end. So I find out where I want to be, and I have this length here. You can see the bungee going here. So I have that exertion, extension.
Really nice. Stretches, comes back in. Such a great pose for the bones. Low impact. Low impact. Unlike running and jumping, it's a nice, easy, dynamic transition. Love that forward and backwards. Up the bowl, down the bowl, I like to call that.
Nice. And to come on out, same way you got in. We'll switch our sides up. Right heel's lifted, so the hips are facing up and both of them are forward. I start out with my pulse. Got to find that sweet spot.
And it's almost like every time Marcy lands, that is where she takes the stretch really deep. Takes it deep. She stretched right now. She comes back up, upper body strength, flexibility down on bottom. All right? So concurrently, it's not unusual when you work with the Mighty Body Band, you are really working into greater flexibility, greater range of motion, while at the same time building up strength somewhere else, some other muscle group. Well done.
Then I come into that motion, hugging the elbows in, stay in nice form.
It's like skiing inside of a bowl, right? You come up to the top of the inside of the bowl, back around.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm going to have a little shoulder stretch here. Leaning in. Hug those elbows in. Good. I just want to give myself a little counter. Good. All right, so from here, if you watched the video before, without the dynamic, it's a little bit more bendy, a little bit more stability.
And you know, Marcy, while you're doing that, it's really no different than a Pilates reformer, because there's a lot of springs and things, physical metal springs that allow you to do certain dynamic work. Well, it's actually the bungee cord that replaces the mechanics of a physical metal spring. And that takes a lot of great force and effort to be able to do this and not fall over to the right or to the left. So the funny thing about the band is you can start out doing the most simple poses, and next thing you know, you're doing more advanced stuff because you really are working outside of habit. You're creating a new neural pathway from the brain to the muscle tendon unit, which allows for coordination, agility, and more of a propulsive power.
Nice. Okay, so we're going to take the handles, but we're going to make them pedals. I'm going to show you how that works. Make sure I'm all the way up.
And there's two parts of the handle. Yeah, there's a soft part webbing and a hard part for the hands. The hard part for the handles are healthy for the wrist. That's why they're there. But then above, the hard molded part are two soft webbing.
So I'm going to bring myself all the way out here. I'm going to start out in the slumber party pose. Really nice cobra. I'm going to tuck in, push the feet in, and come on into forearm plank. So just to warm up a little.
A lot of core stuff here.
Once I come up here, I can really pike. Maybe some abduction.
Very nice.
And
that's really pretty intense for the adductors.
Really intense, yes. In case I'm making it look too easy, I'm sweating here. All right, now I'm going to come up onto my hands. And I'm going to come into plank. And I'm going to come a little further back so I have more control.
And it's not uncommon to actually have to come up and down and move your hands 4 or 5 times. And then you get it just into, as Marcy would say, that sweet spot.
Right.
Again, great core. I mean, it takes a lot of focus. It takes just the right amount of energy. So you never quite tire out, but yet you're working. So through the Electronica method, we say you work at least each muscle or each muscle group at least 2 times very effectively, and then you move on to the next. You work one muscle group, then you work the opposing muscle group, and you work through the whole pattern.
I call those the windshield wipers.
It's a great one.
And then we'll end in pike.
Mm-hmm. Wow, very nice. And it builds up a lot of confidence too. People are always saying it's like working in a container. And look, I mean, you're getting quite a workout. So what an easy job I have to just sit here.
Here's my crow.
Point a few things out. Beautiful.
Maybe I want to play around with coming up into full headstand.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Look at that. No worries about falling over. It builds up confidence. Excellent. She did some adduction work with the adductors. Beautiful.
Easy.
Beautiful.
All right. So let's go ahead. I'm going to switch this up and do some hip extender work.
Okay.
Really simple.
Great.
There you go. Since you pointed how you were standing there, I'll give you something to do.
Absolutely.
You want to hear the click?
So now you're in a single loop. You've just created from the handles, from 2 handles, 1 single loop.
All right, so we can go ahead and use those muscles again. I'm going to go a little bit further away. Back to the chair pose. Now I'm attached to the wall. So my hands are free. Tuck the tailbone, lift the heart, sinking.
So that's really nice because when you work with just the Mighty Body Bandy Lite without the PNF accessory, this just makes it so much more dynamic.
Well, you can build yourself into it.
Build yourself.
Once you feel that security with the static,
stable static. Yep.
Then you add the dynamic.
And usually, you're just really ready to take it to the next level with that PNF loop.
All right, so I'm holding it here. Maybe my hands are going to be shoulder height, and I'm going to do the scooch back. So I'm really using those quads in a different way. Good. I'm going to come on up from here, and I'm going to do a downward facing dog. Right on the hip bones, leaning in. So I make my way back with lifting the hips and walking the feet, lifting the hips and walking the feet. Don't really need my hands, but they're there. Push those heels down, and then maybe I would take the hands up.
Amazing. So you're just floating in down dog. It's just the feet that are in contact with the floor. The Mighty Body Band is holding you into place. Beautiful. Great twist.
Good. All right. So one of my favorites, I call this going nowhere fast. So first I'm just going to come with little. And then maybe I want to get some plyometrics going. If you have to dust the rooftop, this could be a good time to do it. So I'm using that PNF to help me get cardio. 2 more. All right, so I got my heart rate up, and I'm going to add on my little side bends. I'm on an angle. My hip that's on the band is the leg that goes forward. Gotta find my balance here.
Get another nice side body bend, nice twist. Beautiful, Marcy.
Really gets into that side body in a way I've never found any other exercise.
And yet every time you can see the PNF loop, the bungee cord, every time you're working it either lengthens or it retracts back into place.
It's a whole different exercise when you have to also stabilize yourself. Mm-hmm. The band is now doing 30% of the work. I'm doing 70.
Yeah, and depending on the angle and how you lengthen the toe band, you change the ratio.
Here I'm really over, so I just wanted to have this opportunity for a nice side body stretch. Good. Still have to figure out what your trust level is. Bending at the knees, lengthening through the low back. Hang out here.
Very nice.
Come on up. Switch my side so I figure out how much of an angle I want. And again, you might have a couple false starts till you find what feels good for you. So I like to go a little less with the bend because I have the bungee on. So getting a nice torso extension and work. But I decide how much I want based on my angle.
And there are always different options, right, Marcy? Like she's bending both legs as she comes down, but sometimes she keeps the back leg straight and bends the front one. There's different ways that you can work into it to create a whole different sensation. Very nice.
A little more of an angle.
Great.
And I'm going to go for one more set of back bend. Maybe I want to help myself internally rotate my thighs, so I'm going to grab the thighs here, rotate them internally, and then come on back.
Great release for the quads.
Yes, feels so nice.
It's funny, Marcy, because people, from all over around the world, they buy this band, and they send us emails all the time, and they're like, I want to get it for back bends, and then we're like, oh my gosh, back bends, that's only 1% of what you can do, and sure enough, they call back, and they're just like, I never realized there were so many things you can do with this. It's almost infinite.
It is. So let's go into a nice warrior two. Let's start out here. You have a better view. And then you decide what you want from here. So you might decide you want it closer. You might decide you want it further. How does it feel? Where does it come on your hip? And then you can take a little flow. So I'm pulsing.
And as Marcy's doing that, I just want to point out, part of what we're doing here is we're trying to stretch from different diagonals. So the work she's doing, she's always creating a diagonal stretch, but not only is it diagonal, at some point there's a twist and a turn into that diagonal. So it's like you take the muscle, and not only are you stretching it, but you stretch on an angle and then you turn. It's like a cloth or something, a wet cloth. You'd pull it out and you'd just turn and twist. And that's what makes this work so very dynamic and just delicious.
Feels so good. All right, I like pyramid pose with the same leg forward here.
Love that extension in the back of the body.
Now when I twist, my right hip, when it presses forward, not only does it keep me in the right form, but it engages those abs.
Yeah, this is just really nice. A nice straight line right out through the center. As a matter of fact, the crown of the head is lined up with the anchor point, all the way across. So again, she's getting the lengthening and the turning and the twisting.
Taking the slack out of those muscles. Here's a nice warrior one. Then we'll switch.
And again, just as you're doing it, Marcy, I just want to point out, you can do PNF stretching, you can do active isolative stretching.
Little jump in the middle. In case your heart rate came down. I'm going to get that ceiling if it's the last thing I do.
It's like the apple in the tree, trying to get the apple in the tree.
All right. So then I find that point that I can get the stretch and the stability, and I find that beautiful flow.
So your shoulders are so warmed up for this work now, after all that you've done. Very nice. Everything's timed with the breath.
Exhaling, inhale. Exhale, inhale. So a little bend of the knee, and then a little deeper bend.
Very
Good.
nice.
I'm going to hold it. Reach. Pyramid pose. Hips forward. Squeeze those thighs. Reach. Twist. Pull that left hip forward. Squeeze the thighs together. Reach the right arm up. Reach the left arm up. Don't forget to breathe. Unwind. And then we did a nice bend into warrior one. Hips lifting. Open up. Good. All right. Go ahead from here. Release that. And then I want to come in and do a little quadricep stretch. So I'm going to kind of sit down. Right? Doing this in static is way different because my quads are really tight. So here I can really get a little more motion and even get my forearms to the floor while my hips lift and my head relaxes.
Very nice heart opener. You can really see the bands keep the hips from dropping down. Heart is really nice. Beautiful, Marcy.
Good. All right. From here, we can go ahead and come on out with one leg. And I want to do a little with the bungee. Let it open up so I really can get that leg forward. I love the beautiful side body stretch. And forward.
It's like a treetop with the wind blowing to the right, to the left.
And then if you wanted to go into full tree to finish, any variation with the arms. I'm having little swaying in the wind. So if you don't want to step out of it, pretty simple just to switch it. Find the place that's comfortable on that thigh. Open up and reach and open.
Because Marcy's really got something to press into. This back right hip works behind her as she releases and drops into that left hip. It's really stable on the inside of that back standing leg. The knee is nice and firm. Beautiful.
All right, find my stability.
Very nice.
Really get that trust going. All right. Are we out of time?
So maybe
can
just
do
for
one
the
more back
finishing,
bend.
for the finishing up stuff, yeah. You can do,
We'll do a nice supported one.
yeah, or you can come into Ustrasana and maybe come down on your knees and work back that way. And so in Ustrasana, it'll hold her up. She'll come back, take that heart opener from the back bend a little bit deeper. And beautiful. You can see the head actually doesn't come back too much, just a little bit. Beautiful. That's exactly it. Nice, Marcy.
In case anyone wanted proof that I was sweating,
Yes,
slid
Slides
right
right
off.
And then maybe if you want, you can do some type of a child's pose and just get a little bit more extensioning.
I also like a nice little forward fold. Because it really keeps you instead of collapsing in here. I really am aware of keeping my chest nice and tall.
It keeps you from collapsing into the low back, yeah. Because the band is pulling back, actually getting lengthening as opposed to collapsing.
Well, you know when you're in a
Stabilizes.
yoga class and you're dying for the teacher to come give you an
Yeah,
adjustment?
right.
You don't have to wait. It's always there for you, as much or as little as you want. So instead of, I think I'm going to do a happy puppy, so I can really get some length in my back here. My hips are high.
And normally when Marcy's in there, you know, a teacher would come around and they'd just take the hand and they'd work this back. But you see, it's quite the opposite. She works as deep as she wants. She knows how to create just the right amount of resistance into this band. And the dynamic component is really nice because it keeps it fluid. Oh, great, nice twist. Beautiful.
So when I'm in table here, if I'm back here, I'm not really using the band. When I'm here, not only is it keeping me in the right form, but when I do my tailbone tuck to get the lordotic arch out of here, then my abs are engaged. So from here you could little nice pulses. You can do a spinal alignment.
Cat-cow, you can do all kinds of different things. Yeah, that's really nice.
I love the cat-cow because it really helps give that extra lengthening. All right, so then we can finish up with a child's pose with the hips a little bit lifted.
Again, keep a nice symmetry here. Good. And then Marcy will just do one last thing. She's going to come up and she's going to turn around, sit on the floor, and when she comes into Savasana, she's going to place the band on the back of the occipital ridge of the neck. And when she gets it just right, as her body lies down on the floor, lay down on the floor, it gives a little bit of extensioning into the neck. So it's right.
I'm going to make sure you twist it around so you find the cozy part.
And if it's too high, she'll move her body back towards, yes. Very nice. So you see how she's got that right there? It's right above the occipital ridge. And look at that. So she's getting a really nice elongation in the back of the neck. Such a therapeutic pose. She can keep her arms where they're at. She can keep them to her side. And the shoulders can relax down. And the nice thing about this is when she's ready to come on out of it, she just takes it up out of the head and then she goes into her Shavasana. Just like that. Beautiful. Excellent. And so, as much as we'd love to have you stay there for 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh, I can't.
Marcy will come up, and we want to thank you. So what a beautiful job you did, Marcy, with working with the dynamic component of the band. And so we thank you, and we know you're going to have a lot of fun with the Mighty Body Band. The possibilities are endless.
Endless.
And as I like to say, all for the cost. It costs less than a massage. So you go a one-time massage, you can purchase the Mighty Body Band Lite, and it lasts a lifetime. You can do your own massage through different types of yoga and Pilates work. You can do cross training, strength training, flexibility, range of motion. And Marcy did such a beautiful, succinct job proving
Thank
that
you.
point today.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
I'll see you next time on the mat.
All right.